Today we're going to talk about the white man's voodoo, more specifically, how the white man casts spells. Most often when black people talk about casting spells, we lean towards the supernatural in our understanding of the process. However, when the white man casts his spells, he leans towards psychology. I'm going to give you an example of the difference between casting a spell relying on the supernatural and casting a spell relying on psychology. First, imagine someone sitting in their home attempting to cast a spell onto someone relying on the supernatural. They go through their ritual, they perform their ritual and hoping to see the curse being manifested within the life of the person the spell is being casted upon. More than likely, they won't see the results. They won't see the results of being manifested within the life of their victim. Now, let's look at a scenario in which a person casts a spell utilizing psychology. Within this scenario, the person actually tells the person that they've cast a spell upon he or she, and then convinces the person to believe it's true. Once that you've convinced the person that the curse is true, it is then that you'll see the curse becoming manifested within their life. It doesn't matter if the curse is untrue. What only matters is that the person believes it's true. The white man's voodoo is actually information warfare. Information warfare is when false information has been fed to a targeted population that are designed to get the targeted population thinking, acting, and behaving and making decisions in ways that are against their own self-interest, and instead in ways serving the interests of those that are conducting the information warfare. It works upon the concept that the mind's perception and behaviors can be altered by controlling the information given to it. Information warfare is used to gain an advantage over a targeted population. The supreme art of war is to subjugate people without them fighting back. White oppressive forces achieve this supreme warfare objective by deploying information warfare against black people. Because the white society controls most of the information that black people receives and believes, they routinely feed false information to us that makes us think and behave in ways that are against our own interests and that instead serve theirs. They feed us disinformation that makes us believe that our core problem lies within ourselves. When black people have been misled to believe that our core problem lies within ourselves, this demoralizes us, divides us, and shifts black collective aggressions away from the white society and redirected against ourselves. It also attacks the core foundation of what bonds us as a people, and we can then be ruled over forever. They also tell us that all health study results favors whites over blacks. This is how they instill the myth that whites are biologically superior to blacks within our collective subconscious minds. This makes many of us subservient towards whites. They also withhold most black racially affirming information from us during our entire educational development and miseducates us to believe that we have no significant history that predates the Europeans' invasion and enslavement of Africans, because they claim that our ancestors were illiterate and uncivilized. This is how they instilled the myth of our inferiority into our subconscious minds, also making us subservient towards whites. They tell us the lie that most of our enslaved ancestors were sold off. This causes millions of us to blame more greatly the enslavement of our ancestors upon Africans rather than the white enslavers. But critically think based upon facts and reality. If Africans originally owned all of the diamonds, minerals, and all the natural resources, and Western money had no value whatsoever in Africa, how then could it be possible that the majority of the millions of enslaved Africans were fairly purchased and therefore sold off? And why wouldn't the greedy white enslavers maximize their profit by using their weaponry advantage of rifles and cannons to steal, to kidnap most of their slaves? When we look at facts as they truly indeed were, we can state with 100% certainty that most of our enslaved ancestors were not sold away. However, through the white society's disinformation campaign, they manipulated millions of black people to perceive the African slave trade in ways benefiting the white society. People's behaviors align with what they can be made to believe is true rather than what actually is true. The white man's voodoo is psychological, not supernatural. Since information directly influences our thoughts and behaviors, then logically the white society is going to exploit its monopoly over information that black people receive to cast spells upon the collective minds of black people that serves and protects the interests of their white society. It's a logical deduction. The white society also casts spells upon the collective minds of black people through their propaganda campaigns that exaggerates the issue of black on black crime. They're actually designed to make us live in fear of each other. The white ruling powers have always realized that a fearful black population is easier to control than a fearless one. Fear is one of the most powerful human emotions, and it can be used as a tool to manipulate others. Those in positions of power, past and present, have always effectively used fear to control aspects of society. When people are gripped by fear of a threat, real or imagined, people's rationality shut down, making them easily manipulable by anyone that promises safety from the threat. Oppressive governments often maintain their grips upon a targeted population by continually invoking fear within them and then proceeding to claim that only they, the ruling powers, have the means and the ability to protect the population from the threat. Fear within a targeted population are often consequence of narratives by those in positions of power. Ruling class for many years have understood the power of intentionally invoking fear in their subordinate population as a means of social control. Social scientists calls it fear psychosis. White oppressive forces also cast spells upon us through words. Words do have power. Words repeated often enough have immense power over the subconscious minds. Repeated words shapes our thoughts. Our thoughts, when held long enough, becomes a belief. A belief then becomes our biology. We psychologically become the words that we repeatedly call ourselves. This is why women that proclaim themselves as being bitches often become stubbornly unreasonable. It's also why men that proclaim themselves as being thugs are more likely to engage in a fight than to avoid one. We function based upon the words we assign to ourselves. It's a psychological phenomenon that white social scientists have thoroughly studied. It's why they socialize us to call ourselves niggers. Calling ourselves niggers conditions us to perceive ourselves through a false inherent subordinate identity that aids the white society in maintaining its social dominance over us. When we call ourselves niggers, this also separates us from our unified African heritage. Without having a base identity to connect us as a people, over time we become further fragmented and we become weaker as a people. We can then be made into anything the white oppressors wants us to be. Self-identifying ourselves as niggers also psychologically divides us from native Africans. When African in America are divided globally from Africans, we lose our global numerical advantage and lose all hopes of defeating global white supremacy. We also dehumanize each other when calling ourselves niggers. When we call ourselves by the N-word, this makes it easier for us to mistreat each other. This is a fact that the military has known for centuries. Case, point, and proof. During the Vietnam War, to ease the American soldiers' anxieties about torturing and killing the Vietnamese soldiers, they were taught to call them cheeks, gooks, kongs. This dehumanized them and made it easier to kill and torture them. This is what has been done to black people. Have you ever noticed closely when you listen to a black person telling you about a fight here with another black person? He will say, I killed that nigga, I shot that nigga, I punched that nigga. The word nigger is being used to dehumanize him. If he was saying black person, it becomes more psychologically difficult. They're waging a war against black people that most people don't understand. If you ask the person telling the story to retell the details of a fight with another black person and ask them to replace the word nigger with black person or my brother, he will then become psychological. It becomes psychology. It will start struggling to retell the story. And the more brutal that his behavior was, the more difficult it becomes to tell the story without dehumanizing the other black person. The person telling the story may become angry for being asked to tell the story without dehumanizing the other person. When we assign negative words upon someone, we dehumanize them, which makes it easier to mistreat them. These noted factors are the reason why white oppressive forces socially engineered millions of African Americans to self-identify ourselves as niggers and to call each other niggers. They're waging a war against us that most don't understand. Our enemies are playing chess while we're not even playing checkers. We're playing hopscotch. It's time to wake up to our reality. We must learn the social sciences that are being deployed against us. If you're one of those who are believing that a Bible brutally imposed upon our ancestors is the answer, or that we have to understand Willie Lynch myth, you are among the ignorant. And there are people working hard behind the scenes to keep you ignorant. It is time to elevate your mind to the truth of our plight and condition. If we don't learn the truth and start functioning based upon the truth, then all of our remedies that stem from our misunderstandings will be flawed. We have to learn the truth and then develop counter strategies to overcome our situation. One love and peace.